create a little of the grease in the soup. They mix this with berries and tallow, and that was their pemmican. And they put it together, and they had it in their parfleche. They went hunting, and that was their mainstay, their energy source.
Mountainous regions of western Montana were rich in natural resources.
Prehistoric miners here began at the surface where chert was visible in the limestone bedrock, and then began to work their way by using hammerstones and bone pries ever deeper into the earth. This position, we're 4.5 meters, some 14 to 15 feet below surface. As they mined down through the bedrock and removed it and extracted the chert, they came upon these deep solution cavities, some of which go 30 feet back under standing bedrock today and constitute actual caverns or caves. This is a piece of Madison chert. It's a prehistoric core. They've used a hammerstone to batter from this surface and remove flakes. These flakes then were later worked using pressure techniques to form the various kinds of tools that were necessary to sustain life for food procurement, for cutting, for preparing hides through scraping, for perforating soft and hard materials, and so on. They evidently were also doing some of the women's work in the mine. There's considerable evidence of the presence of women here. One of the things they were doing was working on hides, using scraping tools like this to remove the tissue, to get rid of it so they could make bags, skin bags, which they would then pierce and perforate and then lace through with sinew to make handholds to carry what had to have been tons of chert from here down to the campsite and workshop areas, where they would actually fashion the tools that they required.
This is the thread that they used for sewing from the sinew on the, and they put it through their awl and needles in the last part. You take a tenderloin out, you take and scrape that right against like you fillet a fish, and then you put it wet on a pole or something. Then you scrape the rest of the meat off and let it dry, and that's the thread that you take from there. This is bitterroot. That's not the same. This is from our state flower, and when it goes into bloom, then it is the time to pick it, and they used this for many years that I could remember. And they have the little brown shell to it, but you put it in water right away, and you take the skin off of it quickly, and then you dry it. And sometimes it turns out kind of pink, and other times when you take the pink off of it, well, this is the way it looks. And it's very good to eat this way. It is soothing to the throat and all, but it is also good in a pudding. This is good. I like them this way.
We look at the archaeology of western Montana compared to that of eastern Montana and see basically that peoples in the west were much more oriented toward the procurement of water marginal or water resources or foods than our peoples in the east. Peoples living in the forested lake and river environments, meadow environments of western Montana tended to place a considerable reliance on some plant crops, annually harvesting camas, bitterroot, and a wide variety of other plants, as well as the taking of different kinds of trout, reliance on waterfowl, and then game species all the way up to deer. You get out on the plains, the principal reliance is upon the bison, with a secondary reliance on pronghorn antelope, on deer, jackrabbit, cottontail, and all the way down to the lowliest form of mammal for the most part, with a limited utilization of fish or water types of species. But they were ingenious, extremely versatile and opportunistic about the ways in which they found and then used resources to stay alive. But they did more than stay alive. You can bet they had a very rich folklore, rich folk traditions and oral literature, certainly poetry, highly skilled storytellers, raconteurs, competition and children's games and adult games of competition were a major source of amusement and recreation and made life rich.
This is how they would take this same turnip. Ihe is what we call it, ihe, and they'd take it in here and then they'd mash it, see, like this. They get it small enough so that they could put it in the puddings. Like that, all day long. The core of the turnip is also kind of woody, so they always used to just either play with it in their mouth or you know, throw it aside. And then they'd take some of this fine stuff and use it for babies and sick people in the broth. But also, I asked my grandmother where they made this, where they made these things. Where did you find these? So how did you make them to fit your hand and all that? And she said, the people that lived in this land left it for us. And they'd find it in caves.
I don't think there was really any separate men do this, women do this. I think they shared. It was a thing of sharing responsibilities. Even child rearing, you know, sometimes it was the uncle or, you know, would be helping take care of the children and to teach them. It was teach them. In our language, we don't have a pronoun for he or she. All of it is just one whenever we talk about somebody. Like I'd say, eskame. That could mean he is fishing or she is fishing. And then if I'd put the name on it, eskame, then we'd know that Mary was fishing, the girl was fishing. So our pronouns, our people just kind of really respected each other, and, you know, male or female, and it's in respect of their roles, and they'd help each other out.
Our ancestors, I know, looked upon the animals as people on the same level, like the deer people and the antelope people and the buffalo. You know, it was like it was like with the same respect.
Animals have a great deal of spiritual power, I believe. I mean, you can't help but believe that anytime you look a elk in the eye or any animal that is very majestic in its, you know, presentation or whatever. And every animal has unique power of its own, you know, from the ant to the dragonfly to the buffalo.
This is one of the most magnificent, beautifully preserved shield-bearing warriors in petroglyph form that I know of. And of course, one of the nice things about it is that the artist thought enough of what he was about to do that he smoothed the rock so that it would be beautifully, well, it would be attractive and carefully done before he actually began the drawing of probably himself and his shield with his spirit animal shown on the shield. I have no explanation as to why the canine-like creature is vertical instead of horizontal.
There was a real exchange going on between the Indian people and the animals. It was like all because there's such a respect for anything that's in the environment, which I think our ancestors considered their home. It wasn't just the teepee itself, it was the earth, the land. And the animals are a part of that. They're not separate. They're not lower than. They're all on the same level.
Napi, meaning to our people, is dawn. We believed, our ancestors many thousands of years ago believed that Napi came in the shape of light. And this belief was that he was our creator, he was our God. He came before the sun, so this was give him of great importance. Napi came to this country. He traveled from the south, traveling northward, making things as he went. He made the rivers, the creeks. He made the mountains as he went. He made the animals, the waterfalls. He painted these things red. A lot of times he'd stop and rest. The tribute that the people are trying to state with the figure here, because you look over this valley, you see the beauty of it. You see what Napi has created in this valley, the beauty, the richness, the rivers, the way they flow as they come together. And so they honored him by putting the rock formation here.
So we do have this one creator, and he sends his spirit, you know, to different ones and to things that will help us. That's our way of praying. That's really good. Keeps us alive, because all those people way back, you know, they prayed for us to be here today. So we in turn are praying for those ahead of us, I mean, still coming from us.